Ghana for sisi amene okasa no eye Ashanti region ya ban omo from using motorbikes from 7 p.m. eko yesi etiokunkum kese pan asanso akoso Ashanti region and sisi amene okasa no sisi ano just direct kese pan if Jubilee House abane say sisi Ashanti region for no because of ekunkum na eko ho sisi ano enti sisi an ya ban eye motorbikes. Se ebo enimbe be 7 o'clock say kimpe look at a motorbike a untumi ntu enfa fa Ashanti region be me say e chiwa police for so mu a waso be hye papa odofo yesi etue kunkum ekoso Ashanti region panye small it is ameno kasa no ya ban the use of motorbikes from 7 p.m. eko e Ashanti region odofo manko na yanko distance mu nyina chimu e Ghanatube ma isia.
Another shooting in Asawasi in the Ashanti region. That shooting has left one more person dead. We'll be live on the ground in a few minutes and also take you through the stringent measures the Regional Security Council has announced to ensure that they are able to trace and nip these unfortunate situations in the bud. And that includes the fact that beyond 7 p.m., no motorbike should be seen on the streets of Asawasi and its surrounding areas. So let's go straight to the conversation now, which is quite disturbing, and tension is growing in Asawasi in the Ashanti region following the killing of a middle-aged man. And the visuals you see on your screens now are actually live coming from the area. And the incident happened earlier today where the man was shot multiple times by unknown assailants on a motorbike. This is the second such murder in just 3 days within the same area. Following the earlier incident, the Ashanti Regional Security Council banned the use of motorbikes on the roads after 7 p.m. until further notice as part of a raft of measures that they have announced to calm tensions. And beyond that, they've also talked about the fact that persons who ride these motorbikes should not wear smock because it has become one of the ways the miscreants conceal their weapons. And investigations have commenced keenly. Let's speak to our guests who've joined us for a quick conversation on this. Ibrahim Abubakar is our Ashanti regional correspondent. He'll be giving us right this minute update of what is at the area, what he's seeing, and whether or not any new developments have happened since we last spoke at 7 p.m. And again, we have Richard Kumada, who is a a fraud and security consultant. He's also joined us for a quick chat. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. Let's start with Ibrahim. So we spoke a few hours ago where you more or less painted a picture of how gloomy the area was looking. People were quite distraught about the situation. What can you report now, a few hours after we last spoke?
Well, Martin, I can say the police presence have been heightened in most of the areas. Unfortunately, for some areas that usually on Friday, you see a lot more people even beyond 12 a.m. And today the situation is quite different. You go there, you see few people because most people are currently indoor. The fear has indeed been with most of the people because, like I said earlier, no one knows who is next when it comes to these targeted killing. And in fact, it's not only in Asawasi. Even yesterday, there was a similar bizarre incident that happened at Denasi where we had unknown assailants also on motorbike shooting through vehicle, killing 2 people, and also others were injured. So these targeted killing, like people have tagged it, has raised a lot of security concern. But the issue of motorbike today, I would say, has not been adhered to probably because of the time it came a bit late. So even at this time, you will find motorbike moving around Asawasi. However, the police always make sure that they inspect people riding on those motorbikes, also inspect vehicles and make sure they are not carrying any offensive weapon before they are allowed to go. So that is the situation. Others are just going about doing their normal activities, but I can tell you that most people are indoor when indeed I would say they are supposed to be outside chilling and the rest.
Right, we know.
Arofo anyam na mekan wan kasa ko tie nsem na ekọ no yesi ekunkum kese pana ekọ so Ashanti region sisi ame no kasa no yesi ya banning the use of motorbikes after 7 p.m. Our Ashanti region. Therefore, breaking news in Yana Beto Joanna Mispidin Yabro Ghanatube. Obekaya and Che Biana Asawasi Hon Mamuku Nipa Baku. This is the second time, and Ashanti regional minister no, just say, right from direct to Kessi if John Domani Mahama Eba, and on so more, she say, on us was sunny Ediama, Ashanti region phone na say, Ekunkum na Kosunintino. By 7 p.m. ye bese be motorbikes bia okum and after ye pese obia be she eye fugu atare smoke ohun se pepe for atare fugu no da bia se omo na omo di sa nyamra nsem no omo kunkum amanfo no dodo na ehye fugu atare into ye pese be hu so obia ehye fugu atare na after so no ya ban the use of motorbikes from 7 p.m. e wa Ashanti region na meso medini nyina bro e wo Ghanatube for manko na entu ansem so maisia.
That security, they say, is a collective responsibility. Paint a picture again for us, that particular area, how rampant is the use of motorbikes and what kind of impact will this directive have on the commuters and people who move about on the daily?
Well, Martin, I can say offhand that more than 50% of residents in that area use motorbike. Others also use this tricycle. It's a few who own vehicles. So it's going to be a big blow, especially when we have others relying on those motorbikes as their mode of transport. Others even work far place and they have to come home late at night. So they are just also trying to draw with the police. At least they should intensify their presence or their visibility in the area and continue with the search. But for them to place a ban on a motorbike is something that most people are not comfortable with, because they are saying that it's not only in the evening that these criminal activities happen. Today, for instance, it happened in broad daylight. And for that matter, if you say beyond 7 p.m., people shouldn't ride motorbike. That is something they do not agree with authorities. Also, the issue of wearing smoke. At least for that, you have majority of the people siding with authorities, because you look at all these separate incidents and the people who had perpetrated these acts were usually found in some of these smoke, because these are attire that they can use to hide some of these weapons. So for that aspect, people are not disagreeing with it, but saying beyond 7 is something that they believe the security couples must review. But then they should intensify security. Like I said, for most of them, the only thing that can bring this to a lasting end is for the police to be swift in their investigation and be able to arrest the perpetrators.
All right, so do stay with me, Ibrahim, and we'll definitely probably pick a few other thoughts from you before we bring this particular portion of the conversation to an end. Let's bring in Richard Kumado now. Mr. Kumado, thank you once again. To start with, 2 deaths in 3 days in an area that, relatively was quite peaceful over the last few months. What do you make of what has happened and the immediate steps being taken by the Regional Security Council?
Definitely, Martin, the reality or the negative impact of gun violence in our country has come to the fore again. I can understand the urgent need for security maintenance and public safety assurances within the community. And it's in line with that. That is the first decision taken by the reset. But if you look at the proximity of the two crime scenes and the nature it took place, I think the police have noticed it, and they will multiply their numbers within those communities to ensure that people within those communities will have some level of safety and stay at home or go about their duties. There has been some other shootings within the greater Ashanti region, which means that the general public has been smooth for the criminals to take control. Once the police become very aggressive, the criminals will find their way elsewhere. It's a battle the police must fight to win, because anytime the police service become very aggressive and their presence is being seen in the street, criminals find it very difficult to operate. They took advantage of the serenity of this particular area, and they took everybody by surprise. And I believe by now, the police have taken notice and they will act accordingly.
How did the bit about how the operation was undertaken come to you? We saw the death of the chief in the area where clear bullet holes, and it looked like the gun was just shot across. Although he was a target, there were bullet holes in different items in and around the crime scene. And today's own as well, we saw that the bullet holes were in different, even parked vehicles away from where the victim was, suffered some of these bullet holes. What can you tell us about how this must have played out from the security perspective?
Definitely, it's a target killing. They knew who they were looking for. They planned it so nicely. They took their targets out and they deliberately created a caveat to shoot into some other premises in order to divert the attention of the police. But looking at the capabilities of the crime scene department of the Ghana Police Service, they will reconstruct the scene and they will tell the frontline investigators what exactly has happened. I believe that if the police go into the inner communities before they take care of the highways, they will fish out those guys who particularly did this particular thing. However, the other side of this conversation is that what you are seeing being played at Kumasi and what happened at Akama the other day has everything to do with the overflow of the conflict in Boko. And this places a necessity on everybody involved that we have to do whatever we have to do and bring peace to Boko. Then again, the second point that has to be made emphatically, that social media activities and social media actions by certain people are influencing the conflict in Boko negatively. And to the extent that the overflow is getting into the greater Kumasi, we don't know where it's going to be next. And authorities must wake up, combinely and share responsibility-wise, so that we address many of these issues that lead to the public safety challenges we are facing.
Should I say that your confidence in the forensics abilities of our security agencies is top-notch? Because we saw in some of the videos that the officers were using their fingers pointing into where these bullet holes were. You know, wouldn't you say that is tampering in itself with evidence, probably to get to the bottom of what kind of ballistic weapons were used, etc.? What do you make of how the police have even gone about the crime scene? You said they are going to reconstruct it, but are we that advanced? Are security agencies well equipped to that level to be able to pick a shell and say that this was fired from maybe an AK or a pistol, etc.?
Definitely, yes. Since 2009, I had a privilege and opportunity of working closely with the crime scene department of the Ghana Police Service. And everywhere they get to, they give you the results. And everywhere you send the results to across the nations of the world, you come back to the same conclusions. And I'm very sure if they get to Kumasi, they will reconstruct the crime scene and they will tell the frontline investigators what actually happened, the elements or the weapons involved, and what would have necessitated the actions by the assailant. Those actions you saw by the first respondents who got to the scene, they are not a crime scene department I'm talking about. I'm talking about a crime scene department that is being hosted at the CID department. And when the frontline police officers get difficult to crack it open, they are the ones they put on the helicopters and they put him in the cars and they get to the scene. To the extent that the chief is killed and the high risk nature of what has happened within the community, the Ministry of Interior comes from that constituency. I want to believe that my brothers and sisters who work so hard for this country within the crime scene department will be deployed to the scene, and the best of them will come out and perpetrators will be arrested. That is the only way it will alleviate the fears of people who think gun violence is getting out of hand, and the negative impact is creating problems for us in this country.
Okay, I have a last question for both of you gentlemen. Start with you, Ibrahim. Do you get a sense that the people within that area are willing to cooperate with the security agencies to smoke out these miscreants. And I'll put the same question to you, Mr. Kumado, but let me take what Ibrahim sensed when he went there to the crime scene and his interaction with the people. Did you get that sense, Ibrahim?
Well, Martin, they have made that clear since even the first incident that they are ready to cooperate with the police and give them any available information that they have. However, there is also a section of the youth who would want to retaliate in their own way. And for them, they are just doing their own investigation and are not even ready to give out any information to the police because they want to also do their part, fish out the perpetrators. But for them, if they fish them out, it's not a matter of handing them over to the police. They may decide to deal with them the way they like. That's how come even the Zongo leadership have consistently been advising the youth and telling them that in an event, they even arrest these perpetrators before the police. It is important they hand them over because it may be a syndicate. So you arrest one person, the police will be able to probe further and be able to find out all the people behind it. But if you decide to lynch the person or cause any mob action and kill the person, then it will remain there. So that interaction has been going, and we are just hoping that they will listen to them. And when they are able to get them even before the police, they will hand them over to the police for further investigations.
Right. Thank you very much, Ibrahim Abubakar. Yes, and Mr. Kumado.
These are difficult days for the community.
All of when breaking news about to I say, see I mean Kasan Ashanti region for no ya banning or move from the use of motorbikes from Enyumbre 7 p.m. because of another killing be akoso within 3 days and che bia no mukum papa ko Asawasi Ashanti region within 3 days or another person so the same Ashanti region until see I mean Kasan ya banning Ashanti region for no from the use of motorbikes after 7 p.m. or for when breaking news are about to jam Ghanatube. Mama remember like no subscribe no share no hit notification bell so man send a bear I bring a BBA dropping content say wo when you temper no should tell for her and I made in 7 years basi Ghanatube makramunina bidamunina.